Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Focus Radio. This is your host, Martin Friedman, also known as Teddy Bear Moses, senior consultant with the Soul Focus Group. And I'm here with Ragivah, Mahdi. What's happening?
What's happening, Martin? It's good to hear your voice, man. Good to be on the podcast again. Super excited about today, and we're in a whole new year. We got to start creating some stuff we want in this new year. So I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, I am too, man. I'm really fired up. I'm fired up for this conversation. I'm fired up for, I guess it feels cliche sometimes, the whole New Year thing, like the resolution and all that stuff. And, a lot of what we talk about and what we're going to talk about today is sort of rebirth and moments in time that we go from one manifestation of self to another. So if you think about it that way, actually the whole idea of New Year's feels a lot less corny to me. You know what I'm saying? Or that
Right.
being resolute in a new year feels less corny to me.
Right. I could get that. I think as I've grown and developed, I go through the motions with people about that whole idea, but I just see life as one big continual day. And because time is not real anyway. It's something
Right.
we made up to get us together, to synchronize us, which is a very good tool for civilization. But there are no clocks in the sky, no clocks in that space, and we're infinite beings, and we've been here forever. What I believe is that we are moving very fastly back to the reality of the consciousness of that we've been here forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a powerful thought right there, right?
Yeah.
And I guess for me, what I'm thinking about, for a lot of us, I think we believe we need these renewals over and over again because we're still not fully who we want to be. So
I
we're fully
agree.
not in that realization. So for those of us that aren't as much in that realization as we probably want or need to be, we're constantly looking for restarts. And I'm putting myself in that picture. Like, that's why I think we talk about New Year so much, or our birthday this year, my birthday. If you really think about it, we have multiple New Years every year. We at least have our birthday. We have New Year's, unless you're born on New Year's Day. For me being, Ashkenazi Jewish, I have another New Year's, that happens in the fall of every year. For people that celebrate Lunar New Year's, they have New Year's that happen in the winter or the spring. So like there's this constant, it's really a constant process. But I think for a lot of us, it represents the searching of exactly what you just said. Okay, this is when I'm finally gonna do it. This is the time, this is the moment that I'm actually gonna be fully my forever self, as I kind of heard you just say.
Yeah. I think it goes right into, the conversation you say you really want to have today about ego.
Yeah.
Because that's an ego construct, the idea that we need to constantly be restarting, which is why in Christianity, why there's even the concept of being reborn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we're constantly giving ourselves another chance, which is nothing wrong with giving ourselves another chance. We need another chance, but the reality is we are the ones giving ourselves another chance.
Right.
And to get on the other side of that, the other side is to realize that you are the one giving yourself another chance. And if you don't give yourself another chance, you don't get another chance.
Right. Yeah.
So every year when you say, I'm going to make this my New Year's resolution, what you're doing is giving yourself another chance. But the power is in recognizing that it's you that's giving yourself another chance, and is you.
Right. And that's the real ego trick, right?
Yeah.
The real ego trick is that we don't get that all of this shit is us. That all of it, the voice
Exactly.
inside our heads, all of the doubt, And I just to kind of bring our listeners in, Ragivah, Mahdi, what I asked you, what I said I wanted to talk about was I use the term like ego death or killing the ego, and I was really focused on the caterpillar and butterfly metaphor we keep going back to. And the last time we talked about it, you talked about how there was like a liquefaction, or essentially the caterpillar kind of dies as a caterpillar and then becomes a butterfly. This was my interpretation of how I heard it. So I really wanted us to like talk about what is that process? Like, what does that look like for us to stop stopping ourselves, stop not realizing. That's what I'm really hearing from you. The problem with the caterpillar, the ego problem with the caterpillar is that it takes a while to understand that it's a butterfly. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I'm really feeling right now.
Right. And using that analogy, that would be a good way to express it. That the struggle, there's nothing wrong with the caterpillar. There's nothing wrong with the caterpillar's journey. The caterpillar knows how to be a butterfly because that's what it is. It's a butterfly in the stage of a caterpillar.
Right.
So it knows it's in its DNA. But imagine if you apply that to us when we are the caterpillar. We live in a world that's constantly distracting us from caterpillarness. So it's constantly getting us to believe that being a caterpillar is not good enough. That's something you have to do other than being a caterpillar. And while you're trying to be something than other than be a caterpillar, what is happening is it's taking you off the path of becoming the butterfly. So the butterfly is just an analogy of full self-expression. So when the caterpillar, imagine when the caterpillar is liquefied, it is surrendering to full self-expression. And it then comes forth these beautiful wings that flaps, that is so much in harmony with the universe. It's like poetry in motion, which is, it's music too. It's music. But it happens because we have totally come into acceptance with ourselves,
Right.
We're not creating these excuses for shit, like, I need this or I need that to be good enough. And nothing never works because the idea that you're not good enough is a lie. And, I went to see Wonder Woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I admit I went to see Wonder Woman.
It's like for a second I thought we were at a Wonder Woman's anonymous meeting, or like that's DC Comics, right? DC comic.
Yes. I went to see Wonder Woman, and
did you actually go to a theater? Hold on a second. I mean, we can't just gloss over this in the middle of a global pandemic, because I didn't hear you say you turned on Netflix or whatever it's streaming on, but you actually went to a movie theater.
I went to a movie theater to see Wonder Woman.
What was that? What was that like? What was it like being in a movie theater? That feels like a world away.
Yeah, it was. It was nice. It was nice. Because it's one of those theaters that serves food, so it's like a restaurant / theater. Wasn't nobody in there, so I had the place like to myself.
Okay.
Like I'm living high on the hog these days. You know what I'm saying? So I could reserve the whole theater for my. So I'm sitting there and I'm eating my meal, and the movie comes on, and lo and behold, like one of the first most powerful lines in the movie has to do with little Diana losing a race or cheating in a race. And one of the guardians who's training her tells her that you can't win by lying. And she goes on to say this, and this is the theme of the whole movie: the only thing real is the truth. Nothing else is real. Right. Now that's because people go to watch those Endgame and DC Comics, all these heroes are subconscious characters that have been created that are really trying to remind us of who we are and how powerful we really are. But the road back to redemption, and redemption means recovery of our true self. So when the caterpillar becomes the butterfly, he or she has went through total recovery, the recovery of the whole self. Right. So the other theme of the movie. So the first theme is the truth is all there is. Everything else is not real, which is lying is not real. So the other character, the nemesis, is selling people wishes for nothing. And nobody's asking what's the cost, which brings up the lie. The greatest lie ever told in life is there's something for nothing. You could get something for nothing. That you could become a success overnight without putting in any work.
Right.
Without making any exchange. See, the caterpillar has to become the butterfly. The caterpillar has to exchange itself in its lower form to rise into its higher form.
Right.
There's always an exchange. And the ego gets us to believe that there's no exchange, that we don't have to do anything.
Right.
We could get it for free.
Right. That's
There's
right.
no such thing.
And I think the most important part of what you're saying to me is that it's a process that's already going to happen. The only thing to do is just not stop it, right? The only thing is that the caterpillar somehow gets scared, freaked out, or told that it's that you know what you're going to always be a caterpillar. You don't get to be a butterfly. You know,
Right.
the thing is just getting out of our own damn way, right? And
Yeah.
the only reason why we get in our way is because these external messages have told us that we're not enough for whatever reason, that we're being told we're not enough. That's it,
Listen,
right?
listen, Moses. I'm gonna tell you something that's amazing to me. It never ceases to amaze me when I look at women.
Mm.
Women are the most powerful creatures on this planet,
Yes.
hands down. And I'm not just saying it to try to blow smoke up anybody's, you know what.
Yes.
But women have been so distracted by patriarchy,
Mm.
and they have, you know, fallen victim to the idea of defining themselves based upon how men see them.
Mm.
And now, you see a lot of women beginning to redefine themselves based upon themselves. But
Mhm.
so many are still trapped in the social construction of what a man thinks a woman should be or is not, and living into that. So much so that it has become such a distraction that is preventing so many of them from becoming butterflies
Mhm.
when it's their destiny to be a butterfly. And the reason why women are so powerful, I've been studying women a long time.
We're gonna let that slide right by,
Yeah,
Mahdi.
no, I'm not ashamed of that. I've been
No,
studying women
I'm
for a
just,
long time. I'm really
no,
not
I'm just
ashamed of that.
joking.
You know,
I've also
even,
been studying women in many different ways for a long
you know what
time,
I'm
and
saying? Because we could do that in a very respectful way. I'm
absolutely,
not an
absolutely,
objectify women. I don't look at women and look at them and see now, because I went through my struggle with that, and I can honestly say I went through the struggle of not seeing women for anything more than sex and food and taking care of your children. Then I had 3 daughters,
yes.
and that changed everything. It made it mandatory that I become civilized because I wasn't a civilized man.
Mm. Mm.
I
Yes.
believe any man that does not see a woman beyond sex, taking care of your kids and food is not civilized yet.
Right.
Because women are the greatest resource on this planet. And if you can't see more to a woman than that, you have not yet developed as a human being yourself.
Right.
So when I had daughters, it made it mandatory that I began to become a civilized man. And, being a civilized man means you could be around women and just see the intelligence, the brilliance, the creative genius, and make space for it because it's so important that they have space and we protect them in that space from other predators, because until you become a civilized human being, you're a predator.
Right. That's right.
In your ego, you're a predator. Trump is a predator. He's like an apex predator. You know what I mean? Because he made it to the
Yeah.
top of the damn thing.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about that. We didn't even do our current events today, which is just happened. But we'll say that for another podcast. But I just want to say that what you're saying is really resonating with me. I've definitely gone through that transformation in my life as well. It's a slightly different version of your story. Not ever having my own daughters, but helping to raise daughters, and in the family that I was a part of before, the family I'm part of now. And I learned a while ago that the reason why men subjugate women is because we're terrified of their power. And
Yes.
that really is. This is again, like we can go super deep into this, but that really does come out of whiteness. I don't believe that most indigenous societies had a fear of women's power. I think it was embraced. And I think it was when we got into the white culture, the Eurocentric culture, where this idea of the fear of the power of women. And I'll say, and I think this is an amazing conversation because, it's the same thing with racism too. I can tell you for sure that white people are terrified of the power of black people, the power of black people's ability to survive, the power that black people have to still love and be forgiving. And so like really, you talk about that with women and with black people in general. And I have very intimate relationships with black women in my life right now, have for a long time in different ways. and just, realizing, seeing the fear of the power of women. And, unfortunately, the way the ego plays out for whiteness and white men particularly is the need to dominate things that you fear, people that you fear, you know, and to do that through objectification. So I think what you're on is
Yeah, you know
powerful.
what though? You know what though, Martin?
Yeah.
I like to try to look like beyond stuff. Like, all right, so if
Yeah.
you get to you say, okay, white people are afraid of, people of color are afraid of. All right, so that I ask myself, well, what's behind the fear?
Hmm.
And so then when I get behind the fear, I'm like, interesting. Because you know what I see behind the fear. I don't see white people being afraid of people of color. I see white people being afraid of intimacy.
Hmm. Okay.
Intimacy, I've seen intimacy, be something that really terrifies, white people, but not just white people. Any person who is so much in their ego that they are not don't have a good relationship with the truth will have a problem with intimacy. And intimacy is how everything is connected. I see intimacy as Mother God, right? If Mother God had a name, it would be intimacy. Because
Hmm.
intimacy is the thing that connects everything and allows us to become consciously aware of the connection of one thing to another. At some point on this earth, everything was connected. Everything was in good relationship with itself and each
Right.
other.
Right.
And so that means that in intimacy, you know each other. It's like intimacy. Think of intimacy as the authentic you, your authentic version of you, who you really are. You're presenting who you really are. And because this idea that we are not enough that has been so socialized and ingrained into our subconscious thinking that we are constantly struggling with that. So intimacy is like a threat. That's why we have this thing called vulnerability. And we talk about vulnerability in the way that we do because why we moved so far away from being intimate with each other
Right.
that vulnerable now is the term we have to use because we are saying I'm afraid to be intimate.
Yeah. No, I totally. But wouldn't you say that there's incredible power in the ability to be intimate?
Hell yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it.
so that's exactly what I'm saying. But that's what terrifies white people about black people is their ability to be intimate when we're disconnected from our intimacy because of the egoic nature of whiteness and that disconnect from self. And then I would also say that the men are terrified of women's intimacy because women have
Right.
a level of intimacy with each other and themselves that terrifies us. So
Right.
that is power, though, right? That's
Yeah,
power.
that is. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying if you say white people are afraid of black people, that's not getting to the solution
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
because
appreciate
that's a
that.
surface level thing. They're not
No,
afraid of
yeah,
black people. What they are afraid of is intimacy. Just like there's a lot of people of color who've been assimilated into the European white way, who are
right,
also afraid of intimacy. Ego is what we become in our fear of intimacy.
right,
Because the ego can't be intimate with nothing because it ain't real.
right, right.
The only thing real is the truth. Wonder Woman.
Right, right, right. And that's what I'm saying though. I'm not saying that white people are scared of black people for any of those like bullshit surface white supremacy reading meanings. I'm saying that white people are scared of black people because of the power of their intimacy.
Right,
That's
but what I'm saying, I'm saying
connection.
to say that is dangerous though, because what it does, it creates a distraction from what the reality is of what they really are afraid of, and so they need to, look past their surface level fear of black people and understand what the fear really is. So they are fear of intimacy, which means that their ego is bigger than who they really have been presenting themselves as. It's like they're this super character that they've created that has become larger than the real them,
Right,
right? And so they keep doubling down on the lie, you
right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm pushing back a little bit because I'm just speaking from my perspective, being
Yeah,
white.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So being white, right? So I think a lot of us, especially those of us that think that we get it, that think that we're hashtag woke, that, call ourselves anti-racist. I don't think we're in touch with the fear that we feel around black folks. And I think it's the same thing for men who call themselves feminists. I don't think we're really in touch with that fear. So while I agree with you that taken out of context, it could be dangerous, I want to be really clear that I think that there's a process of understanding that fear is behind so much of the continued subjugation, even those of us that say we don't have the intent to subjugate Black people or women. What I'm saying is that I think it's incredibly important for us to understand that there's a root of fear there. And I appreciate your clarity of what that fear is based in, which is the fear of watching people be intimate and feeling you can't be intimate that way yourself.
Yeah, man. I agree with what you're saying, Martin. I'm just saying that, for the narrative has been for a long time that white people are afraid of Black people. And that's oftentimes played on. And all I was saying is like, let's go beyond that, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Because it happens just like you said, feminists being, you being afraid of women, men who I think are not civilized yet, who are afraid of women,
Yeah.
like homophobia too, right? And I'm gonna tell you, I remember one time when I was younger and just started training with the People's Institute, and I was homophobic. I had never really confronted my fear about gay people, right?
Yeah.
Non-binary, sexually oriented people. I had never confronted it, but I was young, and Ron Chisholm, the director at the time of the People's Institute, one of our mentors,
Absolutely.
the Godfather, in the social justice movement. Ron tricked me and said, and it wasn't really a trick. He said, "I need you to go do this training in the French Quarters in New Orleans." He didn't tell me who the workshop was with, and it was the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
I walked in, and the room is filled with non-binary, sexually oriented people. Beautiful audience, right? And I'm scared shitless, right? I'm just being honest, right? I'm being honest.
Absolutely.
I'm scared shitless because I'm not civilized yet. I'm still uncivilized.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that I'm still not comfortable with intimacy.
Right.
And men being intimate with other men, the idea is so something to be afraid of. And so, but we see intimacy when we are uncivilized as only a sexual thing.
Yes.
We don't see intimacy as a connection thing, and that all human beings are connected. All human beings share things with each other, and the more connected we are, the better this world are. So the idea of, the perversion, so to speak, that intimacy is only about sex,
right,
interferes and causes men to be so paralyzed or afraid in the front of other men. Especially you go in an audience where there are some men in this audience who like men sexually, right? So I'm sitting here and the workshop starts and we all introducing ourselves like we normally would do. And I told him, I said, you know what, I got to admit something because I'm not going to be able to make it through this workshop if I don't.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm a homophobic and I'm not afraid to admit it. And I need to put my ego on blast so that you know where I am. But I'm glad that I'm here so that I can confront my own fear. So I said, I guess I'm coming out of the closet too. I'm coming out of the closet that I'm not civilized. They looked at me and it was like, wow, but I really wanted to be free.
Right. And the only way to be free, you taught me this a long time ago, the only way to be free sometimes is to tell on yourself.
Yeah, that's the only way to be free sometimes, to tell on yourself. Because you're not telling on yourself, you're telling on your ego. I'm going to tell.
Right. And the evolution that you've gone through around that, and, myself too, and all of us, is that, fast forward, to like just a couple of years ago, last couple of years, we were doing multiple trainings for a very renowned, LGBTQ plus agency in New York.
Right.
And without anybody that identified as queer or LGBTQ plus on our teams, and they were like incredibly successful, right?
Yeah.
I do have to say this though. I'm going to tell on both of us now, right? Because while both of us have made progress, I also am very, very clear, and I had for a long time, I really haven't considered myself overtly homophobic. I know my socialization, right, is definitely there, but I have for, as long as I can remember, haven't been overtly, but the intimacy piece with another man. So I'm going to tell a story.
Oh, wow. Don't tell that, boy.
We had a training in Oregon, and one of our colleagues, Nicole, with the Soul Focus Group, it was our in-person Gatekeepers Academy. And so we asked her to do a breathing, like a
meditation kind of breathing.
Yeah. And so you and I are sitting next to each other. By the way, Dustin just seemed to have like gone to the other side of the room. So it's just you and I, and and then so she, she's doing the breathing and stuff, and then she says, look at the person next to you and look into their eyes. And already you and I were having a hard time. So I'm just going to speak for myself. I was sweating bullets just having to stare into your eyes, right? but Mahdi, that wasn't enough. And I say Mahdi because this was Mahdi and Martin. This was not Ragivah and Teddy Bear Moses. Because Ragivah and Teddy Bear Moses would have been cool with what happened next. But Martin and Mahdi were fucked up by what happened next, which is it wasn't enough to stare in each other's eyes. She said, now I want you to take your hand and give your partner a hand massage. And so what I remember is you held my hand, but you just touched my hand with your finger and your thumb and just held it there. And sweat was running down both our brows. Let's be honest, man. We both still. This was just a year and a half ago. We both still struggle on that deep subconscious
Oh
default.
my God, that was so hard.
It was horrific, man. I was soaked in sweat. I think you were. You told me you were. And we both looked over at Dustin. Dustin sitting next to this older woman, and he's like kicking back, like she's giving him a manicure and like giving him a full hand and arm massage. He's got his eyes closed. He's just in bliss. And you and I are like went through hell and came back. Well, I say that because man, the intimacy between men who identify as being heterosexual and who see themselves as evolved beings. Like I believe you and I both see ourselves evolved in many ways around that, more civilized, as you say. And still, it was horrific, man. It was so hard. Like, and so that's incredible to me. I think it shows that depth of socialization.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's what's revealing is how deeply ingrained that social construct is in our head about what it means to be heterosexual and how heterosexual has very little to do with intimacy.
Right.
Because our intimacy in most cases can be expressed toward a woman.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's so much violence in the world. It's because there's very little intimacy between men to men. Right. Because the world has socialized to believe that intimacy is only sexual.
Right.
When intimacy is just authentic connection. And truth is exchange, because truth is the only real currency that you can purchase something with in the real universe. When I say the real universe, the universe that recognizes and manifests all things, truth is the only thing that you could purchase anything with, because truth is the only thing real that we have to exchange with one another.
And the truth was, there was nothing sexual between you and I, right?
No.
The truth was there should have been no fear to do that. And I want to say two things. Like, one, so I went to massage school, right? Back in the late 80s, like 30 years ago, I went to massage school, and I went through half of it. I didn't finish. I'm a massage school dropout, just since you went to see Wonder Woman in the theater, and I'm a massage school dropout.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but I gave men lots of massages. I've massaged men a lot. If you had said to me, "Hey, Martin, my hand is cramping up really bad.
Right.
Like there's some really bad, pain that I have, and I know you went to massage school," I would give you a hand massage, and you and I wouldn't think of it as anything, right?
Right.
I think the piece I'm going to, tell on myself, I think it was more the having to look in each other's eyes. That was more triggering for me in many ways. Giving a man a hand massage is not triggering for me, but having to look into somebody's eyes, because you talk about where my ego really comes up is I don't feel like I was told the truth most of my life. And I have a really hard time being 100% authentic and telling my truth. And when you look in somebody's eyes like that, you have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The truth about who you are, how you feel, the level of discomfort you might have in that moment, without even saying a word, you're telling the truth when you look at somebody's eyes that deep. That was the intimacy that was freaking me out.
I love what you're saying, Martin, because that is so true. And the thing I think about is children, right?
Mm-hmm.
How intimate children are with one another.
Yeah.
Until that construct gets set up in their head, and then they start, oh shit, I can't do this and can't do that. But at first, like if we were two little boys and then we were in the exercise doing that before a certain age, we wouldn't have even thought nothing about it, because there was none of that construct in our brain has been established by society that would make us. That's the reason why we say children aren't born racist, because
Right.
they don't have that construct. That it takes a while for that construct to be set up.
Right.
But what that construct is, the construct is really about making us see intimacy as an enemy.
Right.
Because
Ooh.
see,
Wait. Say that again. Say that
the
again.
construct is really about making us see intimacy as an enemy. And I would say you can't know God unless you know intimacy.
Mm. Hmm.
And so, because intimacy is the thing that connects all living things to one another.
Mm.
And if people are connected to one another, you can't have such a thing as racism. You can't have such a thing as patriarchy. You can't have such a thing as anything that treats one human being better than another in a collective society where every human being is putting in and being taxed to live in it.
Mm.
So you have to attack intimacy.
Mm.
And you have to redefine what intimacy is so that people will feel uncomfortable with it, right?
Mm.
So, but intimacy, if you want, I mean, if we really want to reduce ego fast, what we got to do is increase the amount of intimacy that we have. So when we say natural expression, we're increasing our natural expression is another word of saying we're increasing the level of the frequency of intimacy we are sharing with ourselds and people
Mm.
around us, right? Authentically connecting and saying who we are and them saying who they are and where they are and what they want. Think about, you listening to this, right? Think about conversations you had with people where you had interactions with them and you never really said what you wanted,
Mm.
never really said what you meant, what you mean by what you're saying.
Mm.
Everybody walk away with a big assumption that you knew what the other person meant, but you never really asked them, what do you mean? And then they start telling you what they mean, and you like, oh wow, that's deep. Or damn, I didn't think you meant that. And they ask you, well, what does it mean to you? And then you say what it means to you, and then bam, you in an intimate conversation.
Right.
But what we tend to do is we don't even at all say what things mean to us. Two people in love, and I mean, it's so beautiful. You could, you hear violins playing in the background,
Mm.
and they love one another. The guy says to the girl, "Honey, I love you so much," and she says, "Baby, I love you too." And they never asked each other what in the hell that means to them,
Right. That's right.
and it never means the same thing.
That's right.
And oftentimes you don't get a chance to create an intimate love. An intimate love is a love that you create together, that you put your two views of what love is, and you create a common law love, a
Mm.
love that fits both you and her, or etc., or you and him, whatever the deal may be. But the idea is that intimacy is about this truth that we share,
Right.
that we have been told to be afraid of the truth. That's why you see this mob running on the Capitol,
Mm.
because they've been lied to all their damn life.
Wow. Yes.
They've been
Yes.
lied to. And
Yes.
somebody told them just a little bit of truth. And Lord have mercy.
Yes.
In the span of all those lies they've been told all their life, somebody came and told them one truth, only the truth they wanted to, that set them off. And now they're gonna be set off for a while because they got somebody told them a little bit of truth in the span of all the lies they've been told about themselves. And now they're waking up to the reality of what the lie has done to their life and their future.
And I want to jump in, and we're coming to the end of this, but I want to jump in and say that to sort of bring it full circle is when we watched the folks that were storming the Capitol. A lot of us, again, the liberals, the progressives, the anti-racists, we got very smug and self-satisfied. Look at those people. Look at them. We would never do that, right? Look at how messed up they are. And I just want to be really clear, like, you know, we need to see ourselves in them. Just as we say they don't see themselves in black people, or the men don't see themselves in the women. We need to see ourselves in them, and we need to also see that they are caterpillars that are also destined to be butterflies. And it's just that the ego lies, as you're saying, that have kept them from doing that. But they're no less than us in terms of their natural desire to be fully actualized as butterflies.
I would agree. I mean, I think some people have become so predatory, in their socialization. They're so predatory minded that it's going to be very, very difficult for them to come back to civilization
Yes.
because they have to go through their own minefield.
Mm. Mm.
And when I say that, MIND minefield.
Mm.
of things that they've been socialized that act as bombs and detonating devices, firewalls that they had to get through, gauntlets they have to push through to be able to get back to civilization.
Right.
And all those things are ego.
Yes.
All those things are ego.
And I agree with you. And I think the way to think about it for me is to see people, to be able to love them and see them as essentially, I don't know if I want to say being ill, but just essentially seeing them as having something major that they have to overcome, and being empathetic, because I've had the same things, a different version of the same things to overcome and continue to. I'm
Right.
not anywhere. I'm not the butterfly yet.
No,
I'm
I'm not denying that. But here's the
yeah,
thing that's so important, right? I think about Brian Stevenson, the civil rights attorney, something he would say about having hope in the facts.
yes,
And you need to know the facts about what you're going to face,
yes,
because if you're going to have hope or fairy tale, then your hope ain't going to last long, and
that's
you're not
right.
going to be very effective. You're not going to have the energy to sustain the commitment that you're going to need to be able to deprogram yourself and get back to the intimate you.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yes, sir. Man, so this was fun. This is a
Yeah, it
long
was.
conversation, man. It had a lot in it. So we really hope our listeners, enjoyed this journey with us. It kind of felt like a little bit of a
Yeah,
like
I enjoyed holding your hand, bro.
don't lie. You just said you're not supposed to lie. You did not enjoy it.
No,
Now
I did not. I did not.
you did not. You could
I
not lie.
was I was like sweating profusely. I mean, it was like crazy.
Both were. You know what's funny too? As you were talking about, like you said, little boys, right? I don't know if you ever did this, but we used to have staring contests all the time, right?
Right.
You would look right into somebody's eyes. You couldn't blink, you couldn't move, and you would do that for a long time. And what really hit me, Mahdi, is that's like if you and I had made it a competition, if we had said to each other, "Hey, let's have a staring contest,"
It evoked that male energy. It evoked that
we would
competitive.
have been fine. We would have been fine
Yeah.
because that's that toxic male energy. We would have been just fine. But the fact that we were doing it, we were being instructed to do it from an intimate place. Just think about how that shifts. How
Yeah,
much
that's what
that.
the deal was. The fact that we were being instructed to do it from an intimate place,
That's
what
right.
it did, it brought down the programs. And so we were just dealing with the reality of the truth about what intimacy is. It's really connecting, because to do a stare down contest is not connecting. It is competing. You're like pushing each other away, really, like the energy is fighting against each other.
Exactly. But
I
it's the
remember the
same,
first time I did,
same act, though.
but
I said it's the same act. It's a different
it's the
approach
same
to the
act, but
exact same act.
it's what's going on in the mind that's
Right.
determining if it's going to be intimate or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Go
So
ahead. What do
so
you?
intimacy would be without any programs, without any messages, just really connecting with the person in real time. No other messages, no fears. It's just the true connection. I remember the first time I participated in exercise like that. I went to Landmark Farm, right? And in
Mhm.
Landmark Farm, they have exercise where you look at your partner across from you and you gaze into the eyes, and you are instructed to make an intimate connection.
Right.
And it was a woman, so I didn't have no problem at the time. But
Right.
what really was exacerbated when me and you had to do it, and it really made me realize is how much more growth I have to, how much more civilization I have to put myself in, because I believe civilization is really about a full, intimate man who's not ashamed of being intimate.
Right.
Period.
Yes.
Because you're an intimate man or woman is a free spirited man or woman.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And that was a growth experience for both of us.
Yes.
Little painful in the moment, and made more painful by looking over and seeing Dustin with his feet up, chilling, getting a beautiful hand massage. All right. So we want to thank everybody for going on this journey with us today. We want to
Yes.
thank you so much for how much support you're giving us right now. We're getting incredible feedback from people almost every week, really, every time we release one of these podcasts. And we have all different kinds of podcasts that are coming with different people on it. And highlighting different, our different folks and people we have a relationship with, and lots of different topics. We just so appreciate every one of you. We encourage you to subscribe to us, to this podcast, the Soul Focus Group podcast, Soul Focus Radio, on iTunes, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find us. We ask you to go to soulfocusgroup.com and our website and look at everything we have to offer. Again, both of us, we thank you so much.
Yes.
We want you to know we love you, we care about you. We want you to stay safe in all that means. Stay safe and stay healthy in all that means. And most of all, please stay soul focused.
Stay soul focused.
If you wish to support and represent the Soul Focus Group, check out our apparel store at our website, www.soulfocusgroup.com/shop.